A few months ago, I went back to the small town where I grew up. It had been years since I last visited. Life had taken me in a completely different direction, but every now and then you feel the pull to return to where everything started. That visit ended up revealing something I wish I had never learned. This story is about someone I used to call my best friend. Let's call him Daniel. Daniel and I grew up together in a quiet rural community. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where gossip travels faster than the internet, and where family reputation means everything. Daniel was the quiet kid in school, intelligent, polite, and incredibly disciplined. He wasn't the type to party or get into trouble. Most people believed he would go far in life. And he did. About 10 years ago, Daniel left town to study computer engineering. After graduating, he landed a job in the tech industry. Today, he works for a large international company and earns more money than anyone in our old neighborhood ever expected. If you asked anyone back home, they'd say Daniel is the definition of success. But what most people don't know is the story behind his family. Years ago, something happened that nearly tore his family apart. Daniel's father had several brothers. One of them, his youngest uncle, was married to a woman named Laura. She was much younger than most of the adults in the family, only a few years older than Daniel himself. Laura and Daniel's uncle had two young children together. From the outside, everything seemed normal. Until one afternoon. Around 3 o'clock one day, several family members unexpectedly walked into the house and discovered something shocking. Daniel's younger brother, Mark, was in bed with Laura. The moment exploded into chaos. Daniel's father immediately slapped Mark across the face. Laura's husband, Daniel's uncle, was furious. Humiliated, he slapped his wife in front of everyone. People were shouting, crying, accusing each other. What started as a normal afternoon turned into the worst scandal the family had ever experienced. That night, the situation became even more serious. Overwhelmed with shame, Laura attempted to take her own life by swallowing poison. Someone found her just in time. The entire family rushed her to the hospital, and after hours of treatment, the doctors managed to save her life. In the days that followed, the family faced a difficult decision. Laura's husband was devastated, but there were two young children involved, only 4 and 6 years old. After many emotional discussions, he decided to forgive her for the sake of the kids. The family also decided to keep the incident as quiet as possible. Mark, the younger brother, was sent away to study in another city. Over time, he rebuilt his life and eventually secured a respected government job. Years passed. People moved on. Both brothers eventually got married. The scandal slowly faded from memory, becoming one of those uncomfortable stories people stopped talking about. At least that's what everyone believed. Until the day I ran into Daniel's uncle again. It happened during that recent trip back home. I had stopped by a small dessert shop downtown to buy something sweet. While I was waiting at the counter, I noticed an older man sitting alone at a nearby table, eating a bowl of dessert. It took me a moment to recognize him. It was Daniel's uncle. I walked over and greeted him respectfully. Out of habit, I bent down slightly and shook his hand warmly. He seemed surprised, almost touched by the gesture. He asked me to sit with him. We started talking about simple things, how life had been, what I was doing now, how the town had changed. But then the conversation slowly drifted toward his family. At one point he looked at me and said something unexpected. "You know," he said quietly, "neither of those boys ever greets me the way you just did." I didn't know how to respond. Then he shook his head and muttered something bitter. "Both of them are the same." I frowned. "Both?" I asked. I thought the problem was only with Mark. He looked at me carefully for a moment. "You were always close to Daniel," he said. "You probably deserve to know the truth." My stomach tightened. Then he said something I never expected to hear. "The one who started everything wasn't Mark." He paused. "It was Daniel." For a moment I thought he was joking. But he wasn't smiling. He explained that years before this scandal with Mark, there had been another secret relationship in the house. Between Daniel and Laura. According to him, Daniel and Laura were close in age. Only 4 years apart. They spent a lot of time around each other during family gatherings, holidays, and daily life in the village. Over time, that closeness turned into something else. For nearly 3 years, they carried on a hidden relationship. No one knew. No one suspected anything. Eventually Daniel left town to attend engineering college, and the relationship quietly ended. But sometime after Daniel left, Mark became involved with Laura as well. And unlike Daniel, Mark got caught. I was completely stunned listening to this. "How did you find out about Daniel?" I asked carefully. His uncle looked down at the table for a long moment. After I caught Mark, he said slowly, I confronted my wife. She broke down crying. In her fear and guilt, she confessed everything, including her past relationship with Daniel. The uncle told me that the shock of that confession changed him forever. I told only one person, he said. Daniel's father. No one else in the family ever learned the full truth. To everyone else, Mark was the only one responsible. But the uncle knew. That's why Daniel never looks me in the eye when he visits, he said quietly. I sat there, struggling to process what I had just heard. After a while I tried to say something comforting. Maybe it's time to let it go, I suggested. It happened a long time ago. He slowly shook his head. I stayed with her for my children, he said. But our marriage ended that day. He explained that although they still lived in the same house, he had never touched his wife again. Not once in 10 years. They raised their children together, but emotionally they were strangers. Then he told me something else. At the time the scandal happened, he was just a struggling farmer with very little money. To cope with the pain, he threw himself completely into work. He opened a small vegetable shop in the nearby city and worked day and night to grow the business. Over time, the shop became extremely successful. Today he earns more money than anyone expects. But almost no one knows it. He still dresses simply. He still rides an old scooter. He tells people his business barely survives. No one needs to know what I really make, he said. When I asked why he hides it, his answer surprised me. I don't want my wife benefiting from the life she destroyed. But he also said something else. He spends money on his children, good schools, a better future, opportunities he never had. And occasionally he spends money on himself. He told me he had traveled abroad several times with business partners. Places like tropical islands and resort destinations. For a few days each year, he allows himself to forget everything. Luxury hotels, good food, freedom. Those trips are the only time I truly feel alive, he said. I finally asked him a question that had been bothering me. Do you ever feel like that's unfair to your wife? He looked at me calmly. She knows I didn't abandon her, he said. In many families, she would have lost everything. Then he looked directly at me and said something I'll never forget. I loved her once, truly loved her. But she didn't just betray me. She chose to betray me with 2 people from my own family. He stood up a few minutes later and left the shop. I sat there for a long time afterward, because in that moment, I realized something unsettling. The person I thought I knew, my friend Daniel, had been hiding a secret that destroyed another man's life. And ever since that day I haven't been able to look at him the same way again.